What is going on, guys? Dino Bam Bam here with the 10-7 MMA. Happy to be back in your lives with another quick picks. Now, if you're new to the series, it's really simple. All I do is I break down each fight. Quick little bit about this fighter, quick little bit about this fighter. I give you my prediction. We move on to the next fight, and we fly through the goddamn card. No time for fillers, no time for BS. Now, before we get into UFC 318, just a couple of quick things here. First and foremost, follow us on Instagram, like the thing at the bottom says there, at the 10-7 MMA. If you were doing that, you'd know about the ticket giveaway that we're doing. That's right. We are giving away a pair of tickets to UFC 319 right here in our backyard on the west side of Chicago at the United Center. That's Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. We're giving away a pair of tickets. We bought a bunch of them. We bought 8. We're giving away 2. You'll be sitting right next to us and enjoying some fights for free. That card's expensive as hell right now. I'm seeing the resale value of these tickets. They're over $1,000. They could be yours for free, and all you got to do is follow us on Instagram, subscribe here on YouTube, and comment your Instagram username on any of our videos on YouTube from here through the end of the month. So if you're following us, you wrote your name down here on one of our YouTube videos, you could be the lucky winner. So we're hoping to see you out there. So yeah, like and subscribe, follow us on Instagram. Let's get into UFC 318 quick picks. First fight of the night, we've got Carley Judis, and she is taking on Nicole Kiari. Guys, Carley Judis, a wrestling heavy fighter. She's from Louisiana. So, we know why she's there, right? She's there to start off the card, being the hometown girl. And while she's not flashy, she is tough as hell. She's gritty. She's willing to brawl. She's willing to stay in your face. Her striking is wild, but it is really aggressive. And there's some good power. She's willing to stand and trade. She's taking on Nicole Kiari. Super clean striker out of Brazil. Great Muay Thai background. Good timing, sharp kicks. Keeps her composure on the feet. I like that a lot about her. But when you force her to fight going backwards, she is a lot worse than when she's able to dictate the pace. She does struggle off of her back if she's taken down, and that's probably going to be the biggest issue for her in this fight. I assume Carley Judis is going to use a wrestling-heavy game plan. She's going to win 2 out of 3 rounds in this fight for sure. And even if it's really close, you got to imagine the judging is going to go to the hometown girl, give the crowd something to be excited about. So give me Carley Judis, or as DS likes to say, Carley Judice, by decision. Moving on to the next fight of the night, we've got Bruno Ferreira, and he is taking on Jackson McVeigh. Guys, Bruno Ferreira, an absolutely dangerous Brazilian finisher, real knockout power. The dude is an absolute brute. He comes out hot, he throws bombs, and if he connects early, it's usually a wrap. Fist to chin, his opponents are going down. The dude is absolutely jacked. Now, what does he have, right? He has really thick muscles, and those kind of guys tend to fade, especially if they're hot starters. That's Bruno Ferreira's biggest problem. He's taking on Jackson McVeigh, a tough, gritty wrestler, supposed to make his debut a couple weeks ago. That fight fell off, and here we are. Nothing flashy about him, stays composed, shoots his takedowns really well, can grind out minutes with good ground control. On the feet, he's okay. He doesn't offer too much danger in the stand-up. But again, he is tough, he's gritty, and he's got good wrestling. Believe it or not, I mean, obviously I'm going Bruno Ferreira, right? Mine is 675, and the obvious pick is by finish here. I could totally see a decision. I could see Bruno Ferreira maybe winning the first 5-6 minutes of this fight, being the dangerous guy that we expect him to be. Jackson McVeigh being, gritty and durable, surviving those 6-7 minutes. And then maybe starting to kind of utilize his wrestling and winning the last 7-8 minutes of this fight. Too little, too late kind of thing. I mean, the obvious pick is knockout, but I could totally see that decision there. So I will say decision, Bruno Ferreira. Don't bet that, though, right? That's a really risky bet. And if you're looking for betting advice, we are going to be dropping that video tomorrow with our boy Harry from Prochnneo Bets. So, yeah, the official pick is Bruno Ferreira. Why not? Decision. Super interesting fight coming up after that. We've got Superman Ryan Spann, who I thought was retiring, and he is taking on Lucas Brzeski. Guys, Ryan Spann coming off of a really rough stretch. Last time out looked awful in his heavyweight debut. 4 losses in his last 5, and he hasn't looked confident. He hasn't looked composed. That being said, Ryan Spann is very legitimate, guys. Really good power. He's super goddamn rangy, even for heavyweight. He has a slick submission game when he's able to get the fight to the ground. When he shows up, Ryan Spann is really, really good. He is taking on Lucas Brzeski, a guy that's underrated. If you look at his UFC record, 1-5, that's going to make you think he's awful. He's not that bad. He's not that bad, guys. He has been knocked out multiple times, but it's not because he's not a dog. If there's anything that Łukasz Brzeski is a dog. That's what he is. He's willing to fight. He's willing to move forward. He's actually pretty well-rounded. Part of me really wanted to pick him in an upset spot here. This is definitely a fight I'm not going to be betting. And if I am going to bet, I'd probably go Łukasz Brzeski, just a little sprinkle. The pick has to be Ryan Spann. It has to be Ryan Spann by TKO. I think Łukasz Brzeski eventually gets cut after losing this fight. And I don't know that Ryan Spann is here to stay. But give me Ryan Spann by TKO round 2. Next fight of the night, we got another Polish fella in Marcin Prochnneo, and he is taking on an Australian guy, Jimmy Crute. Guys, Jimmy Crute, big physical Aussie, solid power, legit ground game. He's been also going through a rough stretch similar to the two gentlemen in the last fight. I believe he's lost 2, and he had 2 draws in like a 4 to 5 fight streak, something weird like that with Jimmy Crute. When he was locked in, when Jimmy Crute was on the rise, I really, I've been on record saying that I thought Jimmy Crute was the real deal. I thought he was going to be a problem for everybody at 205. Then all of a sudden, man, he just went on this terrible streak. He's good. Jimmy Crute is a really good fighter. He's had problems with self-doubt. He's had problems with self-belief. He tends to crumble at times, but it looks like he's gotten his mind together. That last fight was impressive from him. It looks like he's turned a page, turned a chapter, turned a corner, whatever the hell you want to call it. I like what Jimmy Crute's doing. He's taking on Marcin Prochnneo, a karate-based striker, has like 1 million fights in Muay Thai and kickboxing. Super dangerous early, stays upright, throws with intent, has some really good body work, good kicks. The problem with Marcin Prochnneo has always been that he's chinny, and maybe that power that he has is a little overhyped, right? His whole game starts to fall apart about a round or 2 in, and then he's there to be kind of picked apart. So I'm going Jimmy Crute round 2 TKO. I think he's going to feel out the distance early. He's going to be willing to take some of the shots early, and then just systematically kind of break Marcin Prochnneo down. So give me Jimmy Crute round 2 TKO. It looks like we are absolutely fading Poland. Shout out Conrad on this card. Next fight of the night, guys, we've got Adam Fugitt, and he is taking on Islam Dulatov. Adam Fugitt, a tough, experienced fighter, not afraid to bite down on his mouthpiece and move forward. Very durable, well-rounded, and he can drag guys into deep waters. He is a very, very notoriously slow starter, and that's a problem. He's very hittable, and that's a problem. And when he's outclassed in fights when it comes to speed or technique, that tends to show fast. And unfortunately for Adam Fugitt, I think that's going to be the story of this fight, because he's taking on Islam Dulatov, an absolutely explosive, sharp striker, really nasty power, fast hands, guys, good hips, solid takedown defense, solid sub game, as you would expect with the Dulatov OV last name. He's still a massive prospect. He's a work in progress. He's green, but he's a minus 600 for a reason. I got to go Islam Dulatov round 1 KO. I think he's just a faster, cleaner, sharper, more dangerous fighter than Adam Fugitt. And I think this one's pretty free cheese. Moving on. We've got Ateba Gautier, and he is taking on Robert Valentine. Guys, Ateba Gautier, an absolutely massive middleweight with knockout power. He is from Cameroon. He does kind of have this unfair comparison to Francis Ngannou, right? A lot of people call him the middleweight Francis Ngannou, and that's, big shoes to fill, right? But anyways, he has great power, long frame, clean striking, controls the range very well. You can tell that he is also very, very green. There is a lot that needs to be refined in Ateba Gautier's game. And as far as these big prospects in the UFC, he's one of my least favorite. I'll be honest with you. I don't think he's going to be anything special. I think he is going to be sort of a one-trick pony. With that being said, he's taking on Robert Valentine, a very wrestling heavy, grinded out style kind of fighter, pushes forward, good pace on Robert Valentine. We saw the power that he possesses on the Ultimate Fighter, right? With the knockout with the elbow over the Greek fella, Yanis Bashar, but whatever, I believe that was his name. It's a shame for Robert Valentine, right? His UFC career has not gone the way that he would expect it to. I thought this guy had a lot to offer for the UFC. I never thought he would be a world beater, but I thought this would be a guy that would get close to the rankings. And it looks like he may just be this fight away from being cut from the promotion. So anyways, I'm going to Ateba Gautier knockout round 2. I think Valentine is going to slow things down early, going to try to utilize the grappling, knowing the power that's coming back his way. But once Ateba Gautier is able to distance himself and find the range, eventually that big shot will land. I just don't know that Robert Valentine has enough tools in this fight to be able to kind of just exploit the weaknesses of a Gautier, if that makes any sense. So give me Gautier, round 2, KO, TKO. Moving on. We've got my boy, Francisco Prado. Shout out Argentina. He has taken on Nikolai Veretennikov. Guys, Francisco Prado, a young, aggressive fighter and an absolute dog, straight up finisher. He throws with power. He chases submissions when he's on the ground. He brings chaos into every one of his fights. He is still raw in some spots, but he's durable, he's confident, and he is always looking to hurt you. He has taken on Nikolai Veretennikov, an older, more experienced striker with some good hands, some good grit, but he hasn't looked great at this level, right? It looks like the UFC, and especially a little higher up in the UFC, is a level that this guy has never been to, nor will he ever get to, right? Once the pressure picks up, he tends to fade, and he's had his chances and he's had his opportunities, and he hasn't capitalized on them. So for me, I have no choice but to go in the younger, more promising guy in Francisco Prado. I think he does get himself a knockout in this fight. I'm going to say round 1 KO for Francisco Prado. I think he's just going to bring it. I think he's going to come out hot, and he's going to catch Nikolai Veretennikov, who is going to be willing to engage with him. I think this is going to be a badass fight for as long as it lasts. Give me Francisco Prado, KO, out cold, overhand, right. Moving on. I've been picking a lot of favorites. We'll see if that, continues to be the trend here. But we've got Marvin Vettori, and he's taking on Brendan Allen. Two my boys, guys. A lot of bad blood going into this fight. There was a fight at a casino. I think fucking Vettori was thrown over a roulette table or something. Lots of crazy shit. But anyways, we've got Marvin Vettori, guys. Dude is built like an absolute fucking shit brick shit house, whatever the term is. He's a tank. He walks forward no matter what. He is not flashy in the least, but he is going to drown his opponents with pressure and volume, and nobody has a chin quite like Marvin Vettori. The shit is made of granite. Shit is absolutely made of granite. He has taken some of the biggest shots from some of the biggest hitters in this division, and it doesn't seem to faze Marvin Vettori. I would urge you to go watch the fight with him and Paulo Costa at the Apex. Some of just the loudest acoustics you're ever going to hear in a UFC fight. The problem with Marvin Vettori is he's always been a hit or miss guy, right? We never know which Marvin Vettori is going to show up. Sometimes he looks like the guy that deserved to fight Israel Adesanya a second time for the title. And sometimes it looks like, how the hell has Marvin Vettori ever been a ranked guy in the UFC? He lets some of those rounds slip in those fights, and it just looks bad. But I think he's renewed for what it's worth. He has taken on Brendan Allen. Speaking of a guy that you never know, which version of him is going to show up. Brendan Allen, a clean skill set, absolutely and obviously dangerous on the ground. He can piece guys up on the feet when he's flowing, which is pretty surprising. But he is also super hit or miss, like Marvin Vettori, right? He's looked terrible in his last 2 performances. Outclassed by Imavov, and then outclassed by Hernandez, and then lost to Imavov before that, of course. When he's not the one dictating the pace, it seems like Brendan Allen seems to fall apart, and I don't love that for him. Again, a lot of bad blood in this fight, and I just think Marvin Vettori is going to take it, guys. I think he wins this fight by decision. He seems to be the angrier of the two parties, but it doesn't look like an angry Vettori like it was against Israel Adesanya, where it's going to get him out of sorts. With his brother passing away, which is a big deal for Marvin Vettori. He looks like rededicated to the sport, and I think he understands it's now or never for himself, right? I don't know that Brendan Allen is there in his mind. He's getting this home crowd fight. He looked terrible in his last 2. He wanted to switch things up, so he went and grappled with Caio Borralho, got outclassed there. I just don't like where Brendan Allen's at this point in his career, I think performance-wise and mentally. So give me Marvin Vettori by decision. I like him as a dog. Moving on. We've got Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira, guys, and this is going to be really, really high-level MMA. Kyler Phillips, a veteran fighter at this point, right, with slick boxing, solid wrestling, relentless pace. When he is sharp, when he is on, Kyler Phillips looks like a world beater. There's been times where I've been watching this guy, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's going to be in the top 5 of this division. But then there are times where he tends to have a dud performance or two, right? Kind of like not Mike Brown, gentleman from last week that got the knockout in the second prelim. Anyways, doesn't matter. But yeah, Kyler Phillips, kind of hit or miss as well, right? When he's on, he is elite. when he's off, he looks just kind of whatever. He has taken on Loke Dog, Vinicius Oliveira, a guy that I think if he does get himself a finish here, is going to really propel himself upwards in not just the division, but in terms of popularity, in terms of stardom. He's right there. He's an explosive Brazilian prospect, serious striking instincts, heavy-handed, switches levels well, never ever stops throwing. Even when his cardio is taxed, he's a guy that's willing to fight through that, and I love that for Loke Dog. His takedown defense isn't amazing, so that kind of worries me about this fight with Kyler Phillips, but he is fast, he scrambles well, he's willing to scrap, man. I have to go Vinicius Oliveira, guys. He's just been more consistent than Kyler Phillips has been for me, right? I think if we take the best we've ever seen of both of them, maybe Kyler Phillips edges him out, but I think Vinicius Kyler Phillips. So I'm going to go with him by decision. I think he lands heavy early. I think he starts to kind of run away with this fight. And Kyler Phillips will try to catch up, but it'll be too little too late. Give me Loke Dog by decision. Again, if he can get himself a finish, he's really going to propel himself really far up, guys. Next fight of the night, we've got Michael Johnson, and he is taking on Danielzel. The odds speak for themselves, guys, right? We got Michael Johnson, a veteran, fast hands, one of the better fighters, to be fair, right? One of the better fighters we've seen in this division for a very long time. Again, he was one of those guys when he was in his youngin' days. When he was hot, he could beat anyone, right? And we've seen him face some of the division's elite. At this point in his career, Michael Johnson is still a bit underrated, but he's a veteran with a chin that's been cracked over and over again, right? We've seen Michael Johnson get slumped many times. This week, we're going to be seeing the highlight, ironically, of him knocking out Dustin Poirier a ton. But yeah, that's just who he is. He's still dangerous, but he's chinny. He has taken on Danielzel, a young, confident, sharp as hell fighter on the feet, long, accurate, doesn't waste movements. He's just coming into his own right now, right? He stays very composed in fights. I like that for him a lot. And he just walks guys down. He uses his length, pause, to just kind of make things look easy. His timing's clean, and then when he finds the range, there's a lot of power. That's what's happening in this fight. I think he knocks Michael Johnson out cold in the first round. No build-up, no slow start. I think we're going to get straight into it on the Zellhuber side. He's going to walk Johnson down, start throwing, and this fight probably goes 2 to 3 minutes, in my humble opinion. Moving on. We've got, apparently, Dan Oge, which we got to fix that, guys. That's not his name at all. It's not Dan Oge. Whatever. Believe me. Dan Ige, 50K Dan Ige, and he has taken on Patrice Pitbull. That's bothering me, guys. I have to fix it. Let's start with Dan 50K Ige once I get it back up here. Dan Ige, guys, tough, well-rounded, and always game. He's got solid wrestling. He's got great power, as we know, and he does not mind involving himself in a bit of a scrap. He's one of those guys that makes every fight competitive. Even when he's outmatched on paper, he tends to fight up to his level of competition, and sometimes he will fight down to his level of competition. Some nights he looks like a top contender, and we've seen him get those quick knockouts, and some nights he doesn't. He has taken on Patrice Pitbull, a straight-up legend of MMA, the Pitbull brothers. Great friends with Patricky here at the channel, but Patrice, a friend of the channel as well. Just a straight-up legend, former Bellator double champ, went for triple champ status. I was there at that fight. Unfortunately, he came up short, but he didn't look great in his UFC debut, guys, against Yair Rodriguez. That was a tough fight for Patricio. But either way, he is very dangerous everywhere the fight takes place. He's got serious power in the stand-up. On the mat, he's got some really good jiu-jitsu skills. He's got great submission skills. He's older now, right? And that's kind of the problem with Patrice Pitbull. I think if we go prime for prime, this one isn't close. Is he going to be a little too slow for Dan Ige? That kind of worries me. But I don't know. I think Patrice Pitbull ultimately takes this fight by decision. And I'll tell you why. The level of competition that he's fought is higher than the level of competition that Dan Ige's fought. And I don't mean on a consistent basis, which maybe even on a consistent basis, but definitely at the top, right, at the height of his career. And Dan Ige is going to have nothing for Patrice Pitbull that he hasn't seen before. Not really that Yair Rodriguez did either, but Yair is just so much younger. He's so much longer. He's flashier. He's got weapons that can, that Patrice Pitbull would normally struggle with. Let's just call it what it is. I think against Dan Ige, another shorter fella, he's going to be good. He's going to have enough time to hang in the pocket with him. They're going to exchange. Pitbull's fight IQ, I think, takes over. He'll probably get a couple takedowns in this fight. Ige might steal a round, but I really honestly do see Patrice Pitbull rebounding. And I think that performance last time out, and just the performance in general of all these Bellator and PFL guys coming over, they've been getting their asses handed to them right in their first fights. And I think that's kind of playing into these odds here. I think a lot of people are down on these fighters from other promotions, and maybe we should be, right, with what you saw with Patchy Mix and all that. But I trust Patrice Pitbull. I'm going to go with Patrice Pitbull. I think he lands bigger. I think he has more moments in this fight, and he walks away with it on the scorecards. Moving on. We've got Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Guys, this is a fight that, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? These guys fight every fucking week. I was just in UFC Iowa in May, and Daniel Rodriguez was on that card. I feel like Kevin Holland fought last month. I don't know. But anyways, Kevin Holland, we know the deal, right? Awkward, long, rangy, good power, talks a lot of shit, underrated ground game, to be honest with you. But we just never know which Kevin Holland's showing up. Sometimes he's committed and sometimes he's not. When he's committed, he looks really goddamn good. He looks like he has the power. He went on that massive streak during the pandemic that made him the household name that he is. But there's been so many times that we've seen Kevin Holland come in there just to collect a paycheck and move on. He's taken on Daniel Rodriguez, a veteran, tough as hell, stays in your face, willing to throw combos, willing to exchange, coming off of a great knockout win at that UFC Iowa card that I was mentioning. He is a pressure fighter through and through. But the thing with Daniel Rodriguez is he's very hittable. To me, this is really simple. The odds have Kevin Holland as a minus 455, and I see why. I'm going Kevin Holland by KO, TKO. I think eventually he's going to starch Daniel Rodriguez, who's going to be willing to engage on the feet. Really simple fight. Holland turns off the lights in round 2. Moving on to the main event of the evening, we've got Prochnneo, the eraser, Paulo Costa taking on Roman Copelov. And it's crazy, right? If you would have told me this a year and a half, 2 years ago, that we'd have Paulo Costa, Roman Copelov as a co-main event of a pay-per-view, I'd be like, okay, good for Roman Copelov. He went on a streak. You know, he found himself in the top 5, top 10 or whatever. And yeah, and that's what I would think. But I would never think that he would be a favorite over Paulo Costa. Now I get it. I understand why. But anywho, he's been really goddamn inconsistent. He's had some weird performances, Paulo Costa. His gas tank's always in question. But when Paulo Costa comes out committed, he's a guy similar to Kevin Holland, right? Like when he comes out committed, he's so good. I just feel like we haven't seen that since the Adesanya fight, right? Since Adesanya broke him. I know he had that fight with Vettori that I was talking about, which was an absolute banger. There's been some okay fights, I guess, with Strickland. I don't know. Paulo Costa is a weird one. He has the power, contrary to what a lot of people say. You know, they look at Paulo Costa and you think super powerful. Then when you really start watching, you're like, this guy has no power. He's putting nobody away. But he does have good power. He has great size, super hard leg kicks. To me, this is 100% make or break for Paulo Costa. If he cannot beat Roman Copelov, he needs to fuck off. He is taking on Roman Copelov, as you hear my dryer going off in there. Roman Copelov, a super clean striker, guys. He is the striking Chase Hooper. The left hand is money. The body kicks are brutal. He's calm under fire. He's not flashy, but he is super sharp. He picks guys apart with precision. And if you give him time to find openings, he's going to make you pay for it. Again, I'm going to be real here. I think the odds might be swaying me. The logic is saying Roman Copelov. I'm seeing plus 190 on Paulo Costa, and what I know is a make or break fight for him. So I'm going to trust Paulo Costa, guys, and I think he's going to put Roman Copelov away. Don't shoot the messenger. That's just how I'm feeling. I think all things considered, Paulo Costa is definitely the better fighter than Roman Copelov, right? Roman Copelov is the more technical striker. I think in everything else, if you just watch their MMA film, Paulo Costa is way better, guys. And if he is serious and if he's taking this for real and he's not just bullshitting and he's going to show up in shape and he's going to show up knowing that he has to win. Apparently, he's been saying he's going to call out Chimaev after this fight. That leads me to believe he's being serious, but you can never really tell with Paulo Costa. So I'm just going to trust him. Give me Paulo Costa by KO. And finally, we move on to the main event of the evening, the BMF belt, the trilogy. Max Blessed Holloway taking on the Diamond for one last time, guys. The last dance, Dustin Poirier. These guys have fought twice, okay? The first time they were children back at 145. The second time was Max moving up to 55, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. I don't put a lot of stock in those two fights. You guys know when it comes to trilogies, I've always said this, right? When it comes to rematches and trilogies, I'm always like, give me the guy who won the last fight. And then there's caveats, right? There's like filters that we have to go through. Sometimes it's not the case. If maybe that fight was so long ago, it doesn't really count. We got to watch what they've become. Or if that last fight was very close, and like the Figgy and Moreno situation where Figgy was able to steal moments in the fight and win it. Like there's a lot going on. But anyways, let's break it down. Max Holloway. Right now, Max Holloway is a real lightweight, and that's the first thing I would note compared to the last time these two guys fought. That was Max coming up. He was a chubby Max Holloway. Right now, he's filled his body out really goddamn well for lightweight. He's more calculated than ever, right? The Justin Gaethje fight was a flawless performance at UFC 300. The only risk he took was in that last moment doing the point down thing. And at that point, it was a calculated risk, right? It was, I've already beat this guy to shit. I broke his nose in the first round. I've been picking him apart for 5 rounds. Let's have some fun. And he did what he had to do. Of course, after that, he did get put out cold by Ilia Topuria. But that was back at 145. For what it's worth, we have to consider that Max was cutting back down to 45 at that point. How much did it affect him? I don't know. I think very highly of Ilia Topuria. I think that happens to Max regardless of weight cut. But I really do believe this is a great version of Max Holloway. And he has taken on Dustin the Diamond Poirier. One last time, we're going to be shine bright like a diamond. And get down, James Brown's going to be going. It's going to be wild, guys, at home. Last dance, his retirement fight in New Orleans. First time fighting at home in the UFC for Dustin Poirier, by the way, against a guy that he's beaten twice. If you look at this from an outside perspective, it looks like the UFC is doing Dustin Poirier a solid. They're giving him this fight at home. They're giving him a fight that they think is very winnable for him, a fan-friendly fight, an opportunity to win a belt, even if it is the BMF belt, just to be able to put the belt around Dustin Poirier, a belt around him, I should say, and he could put his gloves down with the BMF belt would be a great moment for him. But you know exactly how Dustin Poirier is coming in this fight. In his last fight against Islam Makhachev, man, he looked impressive. He looked so goddamn good. He outperformed what people thought he would be able to do. And it's like, hey, MMA math should be mathing, right? He just fought Islam Makhachev to a very, very close. I mean, he got finished in the 5th, but just a very close, great fight against, the pound for pound #1 guy at the time. You would think he's going to beat Max, who just came off of a brutal first time in his career knockout, right? I just don't see it that way, guys, and I'll tell you why. I've been flip-flopping on this, but the way I see it is Dustin Poirier is going to be coming out there in front of his home crowd, in front of his wife, in front of his daughter, in front of his family, and he's just going to put it all on the line. We know that Dustin Poirier is always and has always been a game fighter, right? He is going to come out there and he's going to want to give the fans something to remember. It's not going to be just win by any means necessary, because if he wants to go out there and use a really, really wrestling heavy style, he could do that and probably beat Max, kind of like he did the first 2 times. He used the grappling, but that's not what DP's doing, guys. The Diamond is going to come out here. This is for the BMF. He understands. He's going to come out there slugging. He's going to exchange with Max. And if you're standing and exchanging with Max, I don't, first of all, Topuria knockout aside, I just think Max has a great chin, and I don't think it's completely been cracked at this point. So I don't think Dustin Poirier puts him out. I don't think Max puts Poirier out either. I think we go the full 5 in this one, but I think it is going to be Dustin Poirier landing 1 to every one of Max Holloway's 2 or 3 jabs that he lands, and maybe they are more impactful shots, but eventually the volume is just going to have us leaning towards Max Holloway. I think we are going to get a moment similar to UFC 300 where Max Holloway is clearly up on the cards. There's 30 seconds left of Dustin Poirier's career, and Max is going to give him the respect, right? He's going to give him the respect to right here, brother, right here in the middle, one last time. DP's going to, of course, accept that. I think they're going to dap up and just go at it for the last 20, 30 seconds. I don't think anyone gets knocked out this time. Maybe even Poirier gets the best of the exchange, but I think the scorecards ultimately go to the Blessed Express, Max Holloway. And yeah, guys, I think this is going to be a badass fight. I think this is going to be a badass card. And that was quick picks for UFC 318. look out later tonight. We will be dropping the full card breakdown, me and DS. And then tomorrow, we will have the video with Harry from Prochnneo Bets. That's going to be the more betting kind of thing, right? So if you guys are looking forward to that, obviously stay tuned. Again, if you want to enter for UFC 319 tickets, all you got to do, follow us on Instagram, like and subscribe here, comment your Instagram username on any of our videos through the end of the month, and we will be picking a lucky winner who can bring one guest with them to UFC Chicago. We're not covering flights, okay? We're not made of fucking money over here. We got the tickets. You figure out your own commute. If you're not in the Chicagoland area, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Take a plane, take a train, hitchhike. I wouldn't recommend hitchhiking, but, you know, you're grown. Do what you got to do. So we'll be seeing somebody at UFC Chicago. Anyways, guys, that was Quick Picks. I'm Dino Bam Bam for the 10-7 MMA. Thank you so much for watching.